Hi everyone, welcome to Third Coast Gaming Radio. It is the last day of February. It is February 28th. We are at episode 20. I'm joined by my co-host Austin Taylor.
And so ends the short month.
The shortest of months. We got lots of goodies from the video games.
So much happened this week. It was tiring, quite frankly.
EA took Anthem out back and shot it. Anthem Next, specifically. The redesign that they were working on with 30 people. I like that game. That game had something. Should have waited 2 months, man. I like that game.
I mean, yeah, I don't know, I was always kind of waiting for like one of these these multiplayer focused co-op shooters, Anthem being like one of the was supposed to be one of the higher profile versions of one of those to like really grab me outside of Remnant. And I thought Anthem Next could have been that.
Yeah, and I had a pretty good time playing Anthem when it came out, besides it like hard crashing my PS4. I had a good time just hanging out with the guys playing that. I didn't pay attention to the story. Much like you do when you're playing Destiny. It's just about the shooting. I don't know. I'm curious if we're going to see like Anthem 2 in like 10 years or some shit, or less. Maybe 6. They're going to wait.
I mean, that's just...
They're going to put out Dragon Age and Mass Effect and be like, hey, you guys remember Anthem, right?
So, you know how we said we weren't going to have you do multiplayer anymore? What if we did?
Speaking of multiplayer, that Dragon Age was supposed to have some multiplayer aspects were being planned, but they're scrapping it to make it a single-player game. Isn't that a great idea, Austin?
I mean, I had fun with Inquisition's multiplayer. Like I had time where I was going through that with friends, and I thought with the expansion characters that they added after a point, I thought it was really fun.
Wait, how's the multiplayer work in Inquisition?
So multiplayer in Inquisition is it's kind of like a run through a repurposed single player level, or at least that was the feel of these environments. You selected a class based off of characters you can unlock. It's kind of like Mass Effect 3's multiplayer, but it feels a bit more unnecessarily complex because of how different the RPG systems are between those two games. And so you have like this slew of starting classes that you can be, and there's no real customization within those classes aside from how you want your powers to act. But like they released two multiplayer packs that added in new characters. One of them was specifically a pirate rogue expansion where they added in a character from Dragon Age 2 who you got to play as, and she had some really cool abilities. And like all these characters have a more limited ability set than say your main character within the single player campaign. And it was a fun enough sort of akin to like a small like raid, right? In like an older version of WoW where you go through a number of rooms and areas, you do a bit of some puzzling depending on what map you get, and then you fight a boss that could be a dragon or just a really buff dude. Yeah, and I remember having fun with it. We didn't stick with it for that long, all things considered, because people moved on to other things other than Dragon Age. I mean, within like a year, Bloodborne had dropped, so that's what all my friends were doing.
Yeah, that whatchamacallit, I don't know. I was curious what that would have been. I'm sure. I mean, I keep thinking of like the post-release stuff for like Wildlands for some reason when I think of like making it more like a live service. But I guess that's just like them dropping like DLC events and stuff too. Well, I'm curious.
Yeah.
They've never really done
the
events
idea.
like that with EA stuff. I don't know. That's just what I was thinking.
Yeah,
But yeah, multiplayer, not really live events like that.
yeah, there weren't like events per se. There were, double XP weekends, that kind of thing. And within Dragon Age Inquisition's multiplayer, I don't remember there being a specific timed event at any point outside of like maybe some celebratory stuff within those expansions. But I'm not particularly bummed to see that they are not doing multiplayer here because it just never felt like that studio had much of a desire to envision multiplayer within these properties. And certainly not like the time and resources needed to make it something really dope.
Yeah, so they're shifting. And the other thing that was coming up, man, that PlayStation Play. Oh no, the first one I have up is March's PlayStation Plus games. It's a bunch of bangers.
Yeah.
A bunch of bangers.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Final Fantasy VII Remake.
This lineup.
Remnant from the Ashes, Farpoint. And for PS5, it's Maquette, which I don't know what that is.
Maquette is a environmental puzzle game from Annapurna Interactive. Published by Annapurna Interactive, I should say. I don't have the developer.
Gotcha.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, it looks a little bit like The Witness, you could say.
Yeah. It's again, I mean, I would say it looks more akin to a, there's a different puzzle game that's on the tip of my tongue because I own it. And I know what it's called, but I don't have it.
It's a little more cel shaded than the Witness. No, they're about the color palette's the same at least. This is the one from the trailer where you move the big object into the environment. And then you have like you have like a scale model of the city, and you can move stuff into it to change stuff. Very interesting.
Yeah, like you're manipulating aspects of the city, I guess, to navigate it to some end goal, while people narrate about a relationship.
Yeah, but the wild part is fucking Final Fantasy VII Remake being on there, which is this does not. We'll talk about it in a bit, but they had that PS5 version, so the PS Plus.
Yeah, the asterisks associated.
Yeah, so when you get
version
this version, you're not getting the upgrade, but if you had bought the version, which has been $30 lately, you'll get the upgrade.
Yeah. So this is like the day after they unveiled the PS5 upgrade, where it's like, everything looks a little prettier, and it's like
graphics.
Graphics on the PlayStation 5, we got them now. But yeah, so next month you'll be able to play Final Fantasy VII Remake, except this version of it that you get through PlayStation Plus cannot be upgraded. And you also cannot get the DLC that they advertise.
Yeah, and that's that DLC is only PS5, I think. We'll get that in a sec. And the best game is Remnant, which I have enjoyed. I'm gonna bother all my friends who don't have this, and be like, "Hey, play this first area with me. See what you feel."
Yeah, like low key, Remnant is really excited. I'm excited to see that on here because now I can bug people in my like larger chat about playing Remnant.
Hey, it's a good game as it turns out. But yeah, okay, that Sony event came out. I'll go through the other ones. Kenna Bridge of Spirits was announced or teased. I think I'd seen a trailer for this somewhere else before. Maybe
we had seen it before. This was in like the PlayStation 5.
So August 24th. It's like a kind of cartoony open world. I wouldn't say open world, but it's like a
kind of like action platformer looking,
hacky slashy.
Yeah, where you play as, I guess, a protagonist named Kenna.
Yeah, and she's got powers and
who is like guiding
magic
spirits.
Yeah,
into the afterlife. It seems fun.
Looks
I
nice.
could definitely see myself getting this if I ever find a PlayStation 5.
Yeah. And then Returnal is looking sicker by the moment, man. That trailer was a banger, I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I was definitely into so much of it. I became a little bit less interested when it was like, oh, we're gonna explore this character's like home trauma, and I'm like, okay, you didn't need that necessarily, but that's fine, I
Yeah,
guess.
I'm getting Control-ish vibes off of this, along with like, I can't even. I'm trying to think what the dash reminds me of. It's fast. It's fast. It's like this is. Who's the Housemark? I get the vibes of like a Housemark 2D game in like a 3D space. It's like this bullet hell shit
I have
going
to,
on, and
I have
yeah.
to say the thing that disappointed me about this reveal is that someone who worked at Housemark said the name of their studio was Housemark, so I can no longer say Housemarque and
Oh
sound
no.
smart about it. I've lost
Oh
something
yes,
today.
but you've gained
Um,
much.
yeah, in the form of this very good
Yeah.
remnant gameplay.
It, Returnal.
Returnal
It's cool,
gameplay, I
man.
should say.
It's cool, and it's like live die repeat ish, where you
Yeah.
die and you come back, and I think the world. I think the enemies are reset every time you die. Is what they were saying.
Yeah, it's the enemies and the world state,
Oh, this
generally.
game looks cool, man. We'll get into this later, but I kind of realized I wish I'd bought a PS5 instead. We'll talk about that later. They had that Crash Bandicoot 4 for PS5. I don't really care. Fine. Oddworld Soulstorm, April 6th. The continuing
Absolutely
Oddworld
wild.
stuff. We're
We're
still
still
getting
getting new
Oddworld.
Oddworld.
That dodgeball game, Knockout City, looks alright. I'm kind of into the vibes that's thrown out. The fucking one that got me was Sifu by the Absolver team, Slow Clap. It's just
Absolver
like
devs.
they just want to
Yeah.
make martial arts games, and it's fucking amazing.
Please. Please. Like, Absolver is so cool. My problem with it is that it's an online
Hey,
game.
does Absolver have easy co-op? Because that might be a good next one for us. Because I have that game.
It, I gotta say, I don't know, and I don't even know if it has co-op.
Yeah.
Like, it takes this sort of Dark Souls structure in its online world, but it feels so much more competitive in my experience. Like you go around this world and you have AI bosses who exist, but you're also just gonna get your shit kicked in by other players as you're running around. So the structure of that open world, I can't say if it has any particular like co-op functionality because I didn't spend enough time with it because it was just so unfriendly
Yeah, I
to new
played it for a little bit
players.
and kind of moved on, but this looks fucking dope. It's got that hallway scene from Old Boy. That's all I can think of. It's just like the
Yeah,
one shot, and then when you pass out, you grow a
I mean, it's
beard, and I'm
exactly.
just like, is this just Old Boy?
Yeah, so the sort of gimmick here being that every time you get uh, killed in the game, you're revived, but you're older and you have more skills.
Interesting.
So it kind of does that Chronos thing, that Chronos Before the Ashes, that prequel to Remnant
Never played it.
did, where like as you die, it's made by the people who did Remnant from the Ashes, but it's like as you die, you get older and you get a different set of skills. Is kind of that thing. So
Interesting.
it's similar to that.
And then the Solar Ash from the Hyperlight Drifter team. I wish I'd beaten Hyperlight Drifter, but that game, like games with good movement, make me excited.
Yeah, this is probably the one I'm most excited for coming out of this presentation, mostly because it's like one of the few games guaranteed to come out on the PlayStation 4. Um, and like yeah, like Hyperlight was as rough as playing that game was, like it's still a game I really enjoyed, and I'm excited to see what Solar Ash is.
And this, I was gonna say that gravity well looks fucking sick, dude. Like this whole game takes place in like a gravity black
Yeah, like in a
hole area.
singularity.
Like shit's going weird in this. That's so pretty.
Yeah, and it's like
Yeah.
super colorful thing. You're actually there's just a point where you're just riding a
Yeah,
dragon.
I think there's like
Um,
bosses that you're
which
like
seems
big fucking bosses you're fighting later too. Jesus. And then it's fucking Five Nights at Freddy's first person Freddy's Security Breach, which this is for someone, some Gen X boy, Gen Z kid is like, oh man, I love Freddy's. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I kind of feel like we're just as to blame for Freddy's being this popular. I feel like a lot of millennials were making Freddy very popular on the
This
internet.
is also very true.
When they were
this
streaming.
game looks pretty on the PS5. Like, this trailer looks nice. I'll say at least.
I mean, yeah, there's the medal off the mascots who are going to kill you is shiny.
And then they had that trailer for Deathloop, but
Deathloop.
But yeah, Final Fantasy VII, PS5. Man, that Yuffie DLC. You're gonna have to pay $500 to play as Yuffie, I guess.
I mean,
it's kind of a bummer.
That would be. Yeah, it's so ridiculous.
Yeah, I saw the trailer. It was starting, and I was like, oh man, more Final Fantasy VII, let's go. And then it said only for PS5, and I was like, ah, you bitches.
Yeah, I saw that trailer, and I was like, oh great, more Final Fantasy VII. This is just going to be the PlayStation 5, like, upgrade. And then they open it with this Yuffie DLC, and I was visibly, like, I was freaking out.
It's pretty good, and she's got a little Moogle outfit. Very cute. Into it.
Yeah. You know, like, Yuffie is one of the standout characters of that original game, and I'm excited to see her in this chapter of Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, and then, you know, the other thing that happened is, like, Square Enix had its, I guess I will call it the Final Fantasy VII showcase, where they showed off a fucking mobile game.
Christ.
I don't have the thing for it.
Not just any mobile game.
What was it called? Ever Crisis?
So which of these two do we want to...
Ever Crisis.
Which of these two mobile games do we want to talk about?
Yeah, let's talk about the Battle Royale one first. It's just a Battle Royale with the Final Fantasy VII engine. Like, it's the same fight. Like, I was looking at it, it's like, that's just how Tifa fights when you're, like, punching people. But you're picking up guns and shooting people. It's fucking wild.
Yeah, so it's
The First Soldier.
Final Fantasy VII, the first.
And it's only mobile.
But there's like 100 of you. How are you the first?
And they're shooting each other. This takes place before Final Fantasy VII as well, Austin. I don't know if you knew that.
This is so horrid. You're like, yeah, I know it does.
God, this is so weird. This is the weirdest. This is like, I don't even understand.
One of the people in this trailer is wearing a chocobo hoodie.
Yes, they are.
So you know they're gonna come for that cosmetic money.
And you can shoot. There's enemies too that attack you. Apparently, I don't know. Maybe there's co-op in this too. I don't know. There's like bosses running around and shit.
I'm flabbergasted every time I look at this.
Yeah, me too. The big one is Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis, which is every Final Fantasy VII thing released into one mobile game. And these are like assets from Remake too. Like, I was looking at it, it's like, oh, that's just the scene. There's like fight scenes that take place that are the assets. And then when you're walking around, it's like a up-res chibi version of the graphics of the first game. Of the original Final Fantasy VII. Don't know if there's voice acting yet.
I mean, I wouldn't think there is, right? They show dialogue rolling across the screen. I can't think of why they put voice acting in this.
And it's definitely like, yeah, it's the same animations, but yeah, they put the picture up at the end. It's like, this has that thing I was talking about where it's like A, B, C, D is Advent Children, Before Crisis, Crisis Core, and Dirge of Cerberus, all mixed in to Ever Crisis, E. But God, that's
I
wild.
can't believe they're doing 2 remakes of Final Fantasy VII at the same time.
Yeah, and the thing I'm thinking, okay, so the combat and the bosses that are in this are the assets from 7 Remake. So I'm trying to think if, like...
Okay, assets is like a very specific word.
Well,
it means a very specific thing within game development.
Which is like the character models and
it's
animations.
They're the same bosses. I don't think they're the same assets.
Okay, they're not the same assets, but like if you're in the trailer and you go to like a minute 20, that's the exact same. Like these are the exact same moves and like animations from the remake, but
yeah, that exists like specifically within battle.
Specifically within battle. And this makes me curious to be like, is there going to be some Advent Children stuff or other things like that in
like
Remake 2? Like, when you beat the base stuff... So I'm thinking when Final Fantasy VII Remake 2 gets put out, is it going to be 2023? Is it 2022 as well? Are there going to be assets that are coming... Not assets, but, you know, like the character models and stuff like that. Are they already being used in some other place? Don't know. I guess we'll have to find out.
We don't. Oh, God, I'm going to be so... if I see Advent Children nonsense in this round of remakes, I'm gonna...
Dirge of Cerberus is the big one. That little chibi Zack is also pretty good. He's running on his train. He's got his sword.
Oh yeah, is that even... Is that a thing from... What's the one? Tactics? The one that he's in?
That's either Before Crisis or Crisis Core. It's probably Crisis Core.
I don't know enough about this Zack Fair fellow.
He's got his own game on the PSP. It's called Crisis Core.
Oh, damn. Great. I'm so glad it's easily accessible.
Yeah, everyone can play that right now. All right, what else is going on? Sony is expanding the storage for the PS5. They're unlocking the ability to expand your storage, which I think was a problem for people, that they're trying to use their M2 slots. And like I was hearing from like the podcast I was listening to, like Giant Bomb, where they were having people reported that they would put hard drives in it and would crash it or not work with when you put an SSD in there for USB like plug-in. Yeah. So hey, that's good.
Yeah, I know people who have definitely tried to use external drives and just lost a lot of stuff.
And I will say, I have filled up the 500 gigabytes on my Series S, so it's not a lot. Not a lot, Austin.
No, it has 500 gigabytes. Hasn't been a lot for a while.
I have a 2 terabyte in my PS4, and that's what it works out very well.
Like 500 wasn't a lot at the start of the last generation.
Yeah, and I remember at the start of that, a lot of those games were like 20 gigabytes. Like Second Son was like 35 gigabytes or something. There's a bunch of those games with that.
Like smaller launch games were like 20 gigs. Ports of like last generation games could be like maybe 15 or 10. But then when you get into 2014 and you start getting like that generation specific, like PS4, Xbox One generation specific games, they become huge.
Yeah, and I remember like Division 2 is 100 gigabytes. Even like, since we're talking about it right now, is that fucking... Okay, so the what I will call the Call of Duty experience, which is Black Ops and Warzone. And when Warzone installs, like, and like you download the Modern Warfare stuff too, apparently it will. Yeah. It's too big to fit on a base PlayStation 4 hard drive, according to the Call of Duty blog. I don't know if they're at 500. Oh, yep. Here we go. It uses... No, it doesn't. It doesn't say. It has about 400 gigabytes of usable space. So that Black Ops and Modern Warfare combined is about 400, which is fucking crazy. Those are big games.
Yeah, like, you know, like a thing to like keep a note is like when they say like things like the PS5 and Series X are like 1 terabyte. Like like there's 1 terabyte, there's like a terabyte of data, like like in that system, but you can only use so much of that for actual game storage. And it's the same for the last generation. So it says like you have a 500 gigabyte drive, like a lot of that space is actually being used up by the system and OS itself. So you have less than 500
Yeah,
gigs.
and I think on the Series S, a lot of it, I think I had like 450 available to play with, which was nice.
Yeah.
The other thing was coming out is that they are winding down the Japan studio to focus more on Astro's Playroom. And we were kind of looking up beforehand. They are they were like a support they were doing a lot of support work, but they were also the ones. They've kind of been around since '98, and they've worked on Ape Escape, Patapon, Loco Roco. They assisted development on Bloodborne, Last Guardian. Toyama led a division that was responsible for the Siren and Gravity Rush games, and that was like that offshoot studio. So what they're doing is they're closing down. They're closing down these offshoot studios to focus on Astro's Playroom, which is the Astromi one. Did I say that right? Asobi, there it is.
It's not, yeah, Asobi. Yeah, so like this studio that's kind of been this house for a lot of teams and like a lot of worked with like a lot of third party studios for like PlayStation specific things, like like we talked about, like Bloodborne and the Demon Souls remake. Like they helped Bluepoint do both of their last 2 remakes. Um, it's pretty wild that they are going to rebrand it and kind of focus on like Astro's stuff right now.
Yeah, and it looks like they've been around since '94, and a lot of this Wikipedia page is like developed with other studios, and then they have some of those games I listed off. A lot of PS2 stuff. They helped Xenoworks with Okage Shadow King. That's a PS2 banger from my childhood. Let me go into the PS3 area and see, because they had that spun-off studio for Gravity Rush.
Well, it's like a team, right? Like it's a team of people that like become known as like Team Gravity.
Yeah. Oh, and they worked on Puppeteer. Do you remember that game?
Puppeteer. It sounds familiar. I feel like it's like has like a Western aesthetic, or that's a different one. That was an Xbox Connect game. Puppeteer was a completely different game that I have an image of, but I don't quite know how to describe
it's
it.
like you play as a puppet and you have a set of like shears that you're attacking people with. I remember the trailers for this on PS3, and I remember it looking really rad. Like there's like a performance going on, and everything looks like it's in a theater or something. I don't know, this game looked cool. Everything's very marionette looking. Japan Studio, man. The most recent thing they worked on was Knack 2 and Loco Roco 2 Remastered, along with the helping other studios. Like they helped with the Demon Souls PS5 and Shadow of the Colossus remake on PS4.
Yeah, so I guess like sort of with this, I don't want to like rebrand or restructure. Like I guess the question is, what was this studio even? Like if you can make the decision to restructure to focus specifically on the Astrobot IP, I guess.
Which would be cool. I could use like them putting out, and in a sense like a 3D Mario kind of like, but it's Astrobot. It's like as long as like Mario Odyssey, but it's Astrobot.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like I haven't played Astro's Playroom. All I really know about it is that it's a homage to the PlayStation like console.
Yeah, and those levels are pretty cool. Like that
family.
That game is pretty.
Yeah,
those levels are pretty sick.
I've seen people speedrun the levels, so I know there's a community for that. But I'm just not sure how long its legs are gonna reach.
Well, if you take out the homage stuff, and if they just make platforming areas, like in it they had the jungle level and they had the tech level, and then they had the beach area. They'll probably expand upon those and just make like a full-fledged like 3D platformer, which, hey, they've kind of moved away from the 3D platformers since like the PS2 ish. Like it used, they had their quasi 3D platformers, which I'll call like Sly Cooper, Jack and Daxter, and Ratchet and Clank. It'd be interesting to see them focusing on those, or those were the teams that were like not Sony specifically, but that's what they were doing at that time in that space. But I would love to Sony just be like, yeah, we're just going to put out Astro's game every 3 years, and you're going to eat this shit up. And I'll be like, yes, I will.
Is Astro the mascot that Sony had been lacking for this for so long?
I think so, man. I think so.
Is it this little robot?
He's pretty good. Hey, before Astro's Playroom, I would have been like, maybe. But after, I'm like, yes, he is, actually.
Oh, yeah, apparently that VR game was really good.
Yeah, and I know there was some PS4 thing with the Astrobots where they were in the controller and you would shake the controller and they would all hit each other and shit. It was some like tech thing for the DualShock 4.
I don't know if that was like a part of the Rescue Mission VR game.
No, it was before that, actually. It was before that. Yeah, I just don't, because the Astrobots were a thing before the Astrobot Rescue Mission. I just have to look up on the wiki page. What else is going on here? Oh yeah, that Nintendo stuff was coming out. Those Pokemons, man.
Oh boy,
did they. I'm so fucking ready. Let's see what this name was again. I can't remember. Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl hitting the Switch in late 2021. This is what I've been waiting for, Austin. Oh my god.
Oh,
I was like, are they going to do Sinnoh? No, they did Let's Go. Are they going to do Sinnoh after X and Y? Cuz like, okay, they did X and Y came out, and then they did Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, and then Sun and Moon came out, and then they skipped Sinnoh and went to Let's Go, and then put out Sword and Shield. And I was like, when am I gonna get this? Give me this fucking game! Come on, it's here, Austin. It's here.
I guess people like Sinnoh. I don't know.
But I don't care.
I mean, the art style is Pokemon. Like, this is how Pokemon has looked.
Yeah. It's just like, even like Let's Go looks better than like the walking around the open world stuff. Like, your character's really short. I will go back and reference the chibi look of the Ever Crisis from Final Fantasy VII to describe like the open world stuff.
Yeah, no, I think this is better. Like, I definitely am down with this open world look more than I was with Let's Go.
I kind of don't like it. One of my coworkers was like, yeah, this shit's ugly, and I'm like, it's kind of ugly, but like, I'll probably get used to it and be fine with it. But I'm so ready to get my Piplup, dude. Piplup's my boy. That's the penguin. This
yeah. This is exactly the generation where I turned off Pokemon and never
really.
Went
this
back.
Is the one that I played the most of, actually.
That's what I've heard a lot of people say. People have told me that they really like this generation of Pokemon, and I guess guess Nintendo knows that.
It's good. I'll say, so here's, to give you like the way that this game is kind of different, is the main story is about 41 hours, apparently, for the original version. And it says, I'm on how long is this to beat? The main plus extras is 94. And for a completionist, which is, I guess, what I end up doing, because I had like 300 hours when I stopped playing this game. And this says like 266. And let's see. For Sword and Shield, how long to beat says it's 25 hours. So that campaign's about 15 hours longer. Now, I can't remember anything past, like, any Pokemon game. My memories of those are, I did the gyms, and I beat the Elite Four, and I leveled my Pokemon. I don't remember anything fucking else about, like, any Pokemon game, because that's about what they are. Until after you beat them, and you're just running around catching, like, the extra legendaries and stuff.
Yeah, putting God in a Pokeball.
Gotta put God in the Pokeball. I need to find this Astropod game.
Yeah. What do you think about the other Sinnoh title that they announced? Because they announced 2 Sinnoh games.
Yeah, they the other one was, what was it called?
Pokemon Legends Arceus.
I always thought it was Arceus. I think it is Arceus. Oh, and that Post Malone thing happened too. I have to look at that. It looks cool. You can throw the Pokeball like a third-person shooter.
Yeah, and this being like a much older, like within the timeline of Pokemon, this is, I guess, several hundred years in the past. So it looks very different.
Yeah, and it's got whatchamacallit. Yeah, it takes place in Sinnoh too. It's the same Pokemon from that.
Yeah, like you're putting together the first Sinnoh Pokedex, and your starting lineup is actually really different. Because your starting lineup is, like, because you get the 3 like types of Pokemon in your starters. Your starting lineup, instead of Turtwig, Chimchar, and Piplup, is Rowlet, Cyndaquil, and Oshawott. And I only know 2 of these Pokemon.
Yeah, I didn't look at the lineup. Where's that at? Oshawott's pretty cool. I think that's from X and Y.
I'm on the Legends. I'm on their own website.
Interesting. Oh yeah, I see it. So the Rowlet is from Sun and Moon. Rowlet is the cutest fucking grass Pokemon I've ever seen. I love Rowlet.
Wait, he's a little owl. He's a cute little baby.
Yeah, if you get that 2DS like you're talking about, I would pick up a copy of Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, because that...
Oh, I'm not buying a 2DS.
I hope they remake that. I hope they start putting 3DS games on the Switch, man. I know... you couldn't because of the screen, but they could, like, I don't know. It's such a fucking... Those games are stuck on that console, but you can get one.
I don't think so. Like,
Oshawott.
I feel like I don't know enough about the functionality of, like, the 2 screens with those games to really necessarily make this claim, but I feel like if you can put a motion control Zelda game on the Nintendo Switch and give it a, like, entire control scheme that allows you to use its directional movement fighting without needing a motion controller, I feel like you could probably find a way to make the UI of a Pokemon game fit on one screen.
Or they could have a button where you flip to the bottom one. Not a lot goes on that bottom screen, honestly.
Yeah, because I feel like the bottom screen is like the battle UI and, like, inventory.
Pretty much. All right, here we go. Oshawott is from Gen 5, Black and White, along with Tepig and Snivy. Tepig's a cool Pokemon. He's just a pig that's really excited to be everywhere, dude. Tepig's...
Damn,
you wouldn't. This like. Tepig is like your pet pig if you actually liked him. That's all I'm saying.
If my pet pig actually wanted to go anywhere, that's what Tepig
look
would
up
be.
Tepig's expression and how excited Tepig is to do everything. He's like, yeah. Tepig is the mudkip.
Yeah, like, look at this, just...
Gen 5.
How dare you insult this beautiful pig by comparing him to Mudkip?
I love Mudkip. Mudkip's the best. I'm listening to this Post Malone concert, and I think I kind of like Post Malone. But it's weird that he's just animated and singing. Someone spent time and animated this. It's 13 minutes of Post Malone walking around with a microphone, Austin.
Yeah, well, Pokemon move in the background. That's fine, you know? I hope someone was able to pay their rent animating Post Malone in that video.
Yeah.
Good for them. I love that for them.
It's fine. A Gyarados flew over his head. I'm watching this. He gets a bubble around him and he goes underwater. His pants are shiny. Didn't they say, wasn't he singing like one of the Pokemon songs?
I didn't watch it. I had better things to do.
Yeah, it's wild. Almost has 1 million views.
I mean, it'll have more than 1 million views by the end of the day. I'm sure. It's Post Malone. People like that.
This came out yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it'll definitely have more than 1 million views by the end of today.
And them some Pokemon. Pokemon players, thank you so much. That's what he's saying.
I remember when like Spider first came out, and I learned that the Sunflower song at the beginning of that movie was Post Malone. I was very surprised to learn that I liked a Post Malone song.
Yeah, that song's alright. I got 2 more things on here. Is the there's a Bungie has delayed the Witch Queen expansion from September 2021 to 2022, which is kind of what happened with Beyond Light, is they kind of pushed that. And they're also changing some stuff, because when Beyond Light came out, they were sunsetting weapons from older DLCs to kind of stop the like power creep, which is like where their gun base was just getting overloaded with like people were just using their favorite gear, which as it turns out people want that, so they're getting rid of that and they're just letting them use their stuff.
Wild that people would use their favorite gear.
Vault of Glass is still coming back this summer. They're gonna have a master difficulty for PvE events. They're overhauling Trials of Osiris, which is too sweaty for me.
Did we play that? Is that what we played together?
We played Gambit.
We played Gambit.
Trials is a 3-on-3 competitive multiplayer mode where you have 7. You have to win like 5 rounds, I think, of like single elimination stuff, and it's just super sweaty.
Small teams like that make me nervous because that means I have to be good.
Yep. And what was the other thing is they'll no longer force players to grind out 50 power level points every season, and will instead introduce minor season expansions with a 10 power level jump. This is for armor and stuff. So every season it's just going to go up by 10 levels instead of 50. So it's just making the grind a little easier.
Yeah, well, it seems like even, like, I'm not entirely sure on the wording of that. I don't know if it's just, like, 10 levels or if they're going to, like, sort of section off, like, or, like, give you increments of 10 levels at a time, at, like, after an amount of time. But it seems like they're doing that to either reduce the, like, the grind or just help you spread it out, which is
Yeah, so
good.
I think they do 4 seasons a year. And it used to be, when a new season came out, the power level cap would go up 50. So I think it's just going up 10 every time. I will say, dude, Destiny 2 on the Series S is... Okay, so I got a Series S. Destiny 2 on it. Oh my god, 60 frames per second is crazy looking in this game. I've never seen Destiny look like this, and it blew my mind. But it's too bad that my character transferred over because you have cross save, but I don't have any of the expansions on it, so I was just walking around on Earth being like, oh, this is pretty. I can't really do anything though. I could do some strikes, but I don't play Destiny anymore. It's too much of a struggle. Playing it solo. I'm just gonna go play Xbox 360 games instead, Austin.
That's fair.
Let's see. Monster Hunter Rise. This is the only quickie we have. Is that Monster Hunter Rise is being developed for Switch, but it looks like it's also coming to PC as well, which I thought was pretty cool. I feel like we talked about this before, but anytime I have a chance to talk about Monster Hunter, I will talk about Monster Hunter, Austin.
I mean, we didn't talk about like the idea of it coming to PC,
Dude.
Which is, yeah, I mean, that's wild. That's good.
And they're going back to the old like armor stuff, where they are. So World had this thing where all the weapons kind of looked exactly the same. Like you'd be deep in a skill tree, and they were just kind of all the same. This is going back to like hammers being like heads of monsters and stuff. I was watching some gameplay of like they have this. There's a monster called the Kazoo, which is a blind, slippery monster who, most notably, when you make its hammer, it's just the Kazoo's head on the end of the hammer. Very cool. Anyway, that's it for news, Austin. We'll come back with some games in a little bit.
When you hit people with the Kazoo's hammer, does it make the sad song of Prison Blues?
It could. I want to send you this picture of this Kazoo really fast. I gotta get Austin's hot take. Let's see.
I mean, you really don't.
It's just so ugly. It's just so ugly. Just look at this. Look at this boy. Same energy as that Willem Dafoe gif I just put at the top there, Austin. Same energy.
Incredible. What a stunning creature.
Willem Dafoe's Monster Hunter companion is a Kazoo. All right, Austin, where can people find you at on Twitter? What's going on?
If you really need to find me on Twitter, you can find me at Beardless2TW.
I'm at Travis23Doyle. We'll catch y'all in a bit and come back with our gameplay impressions. I got a Series S, so stay tuned. You can hear me talk about that. All right, later, y'all.